decided to put a video together after listening to some people talk and everything about the system moving forward, how things used to be, and basically where the money wound up after Overwatch League, Contenders, Open Division, everything. So, this is the path to pro. Each one of these represents a path to pro. The then is the one I was a part of, and I've experienced in it. I know pretty much the ins and the outs of it. Like that's pretty spot on. Um, there was no OWL org. It was like a T1 org, T2 org, T3 org, etc. And then you were either unpaid or you were just a team playing together. And you were ladder player, ladder star. And then nepotism, of course, which I will cover in this video. So anyway, let's look at it the way it used to be first. I'm gonna focus in on this area over here. All right, so it used to be that uh, T1 paid orgs made between 1K and say 4K. That's a big wage gap, but that's the entire last year. All right, a T2 org, and when I say T1 orgs, in my opinion, they were the orgs that were willing to double down and pay. They were the orgs that were willing to develop players. They were the orgs that were good places to wind up. So Cloud9, Immortals, Envy. There were a few that got phased out, but in my opinion, that's probably as best. All right, so in T2 paid, you might get $500, or you might make up to 3K. And that's like if you were the absolute pinnacle of T2 paid orgs. And that would be like, in my opinion, this is where Renegades fall. Renegades is a T2 org. I think Immortals was a T1 org. I've been nothing against Renegades. Renegades did what Renegades had to. But in my opinion, after being there, playing under them, the stuff we had to do, the money I made, I definitely don't think they're a T1 org. T3 paid orgs, this is where we get into the territory not a lot of people know about. T3 orgs are the people who are, I own a giant furniture store, but I like esports and I want to fund a team. So for these teams, you might get paid anywhere between $100 and $1,000. And that's the absolute high end. And then, of course, T4 unpaid orgs, you might get paid nothing to, $250 for representing a team that isn't paying you. They might pay you $250 just to use their name. As a ladder player, you don't make anything. Ladder star, you don't make anything. As a ringer for T1, T2, T3, you don't make anything, but you get into the nepotism category, which I'll get into. And then streaming for an org, you could make anywhere between $500 and God, I know there was one or two people who were making like $3,000 ish because of their following, but that's all following based. That's not like actual like contributions. So keep that in mind. Um, and then we have nepotism. This is what I was getting into. So we're gonna talk about the path to pro. All right, so I'm gonna put this down here. New to game. All right, and then you go new to game. The new to game guy goes in, he starts playing on the ladder. He gets level 25, starts playing the game. He gets on ladder. All right, there are 3 ways you can go from the ladder to the pro scene, and they are as follows. You can go play on a T4 team. You just, don't care about the overall team's talent. You're just trying to make yourself better. So you go and play on a T4 team. You scrim 5 days a week. You're still not getting paid. You're just hoping that the team goes somewhere. Genuinely, this comes from being friends with a player on that team. If you don't want to go down that route and you don't want to go into T4, you can become a ladder star. The most famous ladder star, in my opinion, currently at the moment, is Zachary. I coached him at Renegades. I had no clue who the hell the kid was, and then Zachary showed up and literally blew my mind away. He's one of the most raw, best talents I've ever seen in the game. And he was a ladder star. So you go from there to there. Or you make friends, and this is how it used to be. So you make friends with so and so's like, yeah, I can get you a tryout, or yeah, I can get them to, I heard so and so's trialing out these people. You should PM them. I heard this through the grapevine. You were privileged with information because you were friends with friends. So this is the networking part. I'm gonna go ahead and put that up there. This is networking. All right. So that was the old way, because literally if you were friends with somebody you can get anywhere. You can get T1, T2, T3. You can go anywhere within this. You can become a streamer. You do a ton of shit. Anyway, so that was all with networking. All right, so let's look at the new, how they say this works. You go from the ladder to open division, and then you win open division, and then you win open division and you go into contenders, and then you win contenders, and then somebody in Overwatch League wants to draft you. So I'm not going to inflate it. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to deal with anything. I'm just going to put it as the base. $50,000 a year to play in the Overwatch League is minimum salary. Contenders has no minimum salary, but Contenders orgs, so the orgs that are paying you in Contenders, if they exist, are going to get 25% of that 50K. So we'll take 50,000 and we're going to divide it by 4. They get $12,500 if they sign you. So that means that for Contenders for a year, if they signed you for a year, that's the most they can spend on you. They can't spend any more on that, otherwise they're likely to lose money. There are obviously going to be exceptions for, owl level talent that got left out, like FNRGFE's current roster, or Mangachu, or there are players who are of Overwatch League caliber that got passed on. And they're probably your sure bets. They're the scratch off lottery ticket that's already won, you just have to pay for it. And those players, might see this close to this figure. So this means that as a contenders player, the most money you're going to see, let's say the org wants to maintain a profit. They want to make money off of you. They don't want to just break even, they want to make money. So what's an acceptable amount of money to make here? Most people want 3,500 to 4 grand. So we're going to take 4,000 out of that. That means $8,500 for a year. So that means for Contenders, for an entire year, that's how much they'll pay you. 8.5K a year. All right, so let's do some rough math. Let's do 8.5K divided by 12 months because you're signed for a year. That's $708 a month. $708 to play Overwatch. In Contenders, the next best level. So let's compare this. All right, so 708 a month. By the way, all these numbers over here are a month. This is all monthly wages. All right, so let's go back to the Overwatch League and calculator. All right, so 50,000 divided by 12. $4,166. Oh shit. So the average Overwatch League player is going to make 4 times as much as a Contenders player. Open Division players have nothing. There is no rule that this Contenders buyout has to exist. There is nothing. There is BattleNet balance on the line. You make nothing. You make the exact same amount playing on the ladder. This isn't about prize pools, this is about actual cash you could see from an organization or a team you're representing. So, what the fuck happened? We went from there being money spread out all over the place over here, and, it was amazing, to now this Overwatch League team is guaranteed what T1 pay was. Upper end T1 pay at the end then was 4K. It's guaranteed now. You're guaranteed 4,000. But T2, which should be Contenders, was 800 a month at best, $800 a month. And that falls in line with T3, T2 back then, but it also falls in line with streaming. It's fine. So basically, the T2s and T3s are now the contenders teams. That makes sense. Perfectly acceptable and fine. Where did all the T2 and T3 orgs go? Every single org who did not get into OWL left the scene because there was no chance of them getting in. The fact that there is franchising made it so that contenders, orgs, and endemics will not come back. It's going to be on people who have money trying to make a quick flip of cash, or a coach trying to flip a team that will never get into OWL, and because of that, there's no money. All of the money, 99% of it, is up here. This is 99%. This is 1%. That's your money distribution in the scene right now. 99% of the money in the scene got sucked into OWL. And it's all gone now. There's no money. You can't get paid to do this anymore. Not unless you're extremely lucky, or we go back to the friends and person who has your ear. That would be over here. This is networking. This is networking again. I'm the friend of the friend of the friend. That gets you up top. That gets you into Overwatch League. That gets you into contenders. It gets you a team on Open Division. All of this shit comes from networking. Friend of a friend. So that's how they say it works. That system is bullshit. In my opinion, that is trash. That there are players who, in my opinion, can play with OWL players. They scrim against them, for Christ's sake, who are in contenders, who do not get the luxury of getting paid to play the game. There is nothing. Blizzard has put the 99% into the OWL players. So this means this is now the Kurt Warner story. This is Kurt Warner. I don't know if I spelled it right, but Kurt Warner is a quarterback in the NFL who had to bag groceries while trying to get onto an NFL team. This is the Kurt Warner story. It makes great news. It's awesome. That dude now doesn't have enough time to play. I know for a fact of 3 to 5 players who would be in Overwatch League, who would blow the fucking socks off of people, but nobody wants to pay them. And because nobody wants to pay them, they can't play. They are Overwatch level players who got passed on and now have to go back to school. They have to go get real life jobs. They can't pursue this. The amount of time that's needed for, okay, we'll talk about one of my teams. Renegades, like I said, was T2. We were the absolute pinnacle of T2 talent. We were on our way to breaking into T1. We were going to be there. We weren't there because of the raw mechanical skill of the players on the team. We were there because we had coordination and we had done so much fucking goddamn review. I could sit my team down against anybody without any prep and they could fucking play against them. They had experienced so much of that shit that they could play versus these teams without having the mechanical skill to keep up. But they knew what to do. They always knew what to do. The number one thing a lot of my players hate me for is I ask why. I ask them why. I make them tell me why. So, like, that's how you bridged that gap. Now, let's say I was coaching a contenders team right now, and, $700 a month. That's not something you can live on. You can't do that and go full time. This isn't like I cannot think of a single AAA player. Well, maybe. I don't know. I'll reach out to a friend and I'll ask about that, and I'll do another video about it. Because I don't think there are any people in the scene directly below. Like, this should be the AHL salary, the minor league salary, but it's not. So every Overwatch League org threw $5 million into the pot at the very beginning. So we have 5 million times X, and they've got X years to pay the other 15 in. Salaries were mandated at 50K. That makes no sense to me because orgs are pinching pennies really, really hard here, and I don't understand why. Sinatra is one of 5 players, I think, who are making 6 figures plus. If not, we have been lied to belligerently by everybody about how much Overwatch players are making, and that doesn't fucking help anybody. Because until we know what Overwatch League mandated average salary is for everyone, contenders' salaries are always going to be an issue, and it shouldn't be something that's kept in the dark. You have to have that information out in the open so that the contenders teams know if they're getting fucked. They know if they can make it or not. Because this wage gap. Alright. So that's how they say it works. The path to pro. This is how I think the current path to pro is. So, again, new to game. New to game. New player. Ladder player. Gets onto the ladder. Woo! Ladder player. He gets onto an open division team. When I say open division team, I'm talking about teams you're probably never going to heard of, but they are the pinnacle open division teams. Teams that used to be really the pinnacle were Bunny Blasters, Ninjas in Pajamas, um, the Savages, uh, my team, 5 exclamation marks, and Bounty Hunters, LCG. Um, there's a few of them, and they are the pinnacle of open division teams. But this skill gap between open division and contenders, I can't justify it. I cannot justify the difference between contenders and open division. There are players in open division who could find their way onto contenders teams or academy teams, but they aren't going to succeed immediately. And it's just a huge gap because these contenders level talents from back then were T2 players that got paid. They got money to sit there and learn the game. Didn't matter if you could execute it. You learned the game. You learned what was good. You learned what was bad. Even if you couldn't execute, you still had that information. And that information carried you to be contenders level talent. These people don't have that. I've bummed around. I have coached since I left Renegades. I've coached a T2 team. I have coached a T3 team. I've coached a T4 team. I've coached a T5 team that has no chance of going pro but just wants to experience the environment. And then I have consulted a T1 team. So I have seen the entire tier. The skill gap difference between Open Division and Overwatch League is not funny. The skill gap difference between Overwatch League and Contenders is laughable. The amount of players who are at this Contenders level talent that are going to get fucked because they aren't getting that money. So go back to how it is now. The people who are going to be playing here, who are almost at this level, are going to start getting left behind because they cannot financially maintain it. So there was a huge trickle down fuck up somewhere along this process of all the money getting sucked up into the 99th percentile. Blizzard can't do jack shit about it unless they increase prize pools. And then their prize pool for contenders needs to be larger than Overwatch League. Because Overwatch League is guaranteed salary and prestige. Contenders should be about raw money. So anyway, ladder player to open division. Just talked about the open division talent. So let's look at how do I get to the Overwatch League. There are open division level players currently in Overwatch League. They are sitting there because they were friends with an owner, a coach, or an org. I will not sugarcoat it. There are players who have no business being on a fucking team and they are signed. They are making 50 to 80K. They have no fucking reason being an owl. I will not name and shame, but you exist and you know who the fuck you are. Then you have the people who are open division level players who's turning into streamers. Like there are a ton of players right now that are turning into streamers. So contenders level talent downgrade into the side, in my opinion, right now that's happening is Mangachu is slowly becoming a streamer. Mangachu and Jesus, and there's a few others. They still scrim occasionally, but they have the feel of a streamer. They don't have the feel of anything else. And if Dallas has shown us anything, if you have a large enough stream following, you can find your way onto the bench as a sub. You just have to be good enough on 1 or 2 heroes, and you can find your way onto a bench as a sub because of the following that you have. If you look at it from this perspective, This upper end from streamers to Overwatch League is really, really close. We're talking within a 3% skill difference. But this is, again, 99% of the money is going to sit in Overwatch League. This break point is here and here, when the break point used to be here. Do you see what happened? The cash is getting pushed so far up. There's nothing. There's nothing. These are all wastelands. There is no money to be had in the lower end. And from my contract experience, from the contracts I've had, players I've talked to, stuff I've done since I left my org, and I'm just gonna stop saying left my org since Renegades cut me. I don't think that there's any money to be had. Like, I, as coach, find it hard to do my job. Like, I've been doing this for 16 months, and there's no money, there's no nothing, there's like no financial for you to be safe on. I've been offered between $300 and $600, which would put me, around that T3, to go coach contenders teams in other countries. But we're talking $600 a month to fly to another country where I don't have anything taken care of. $600 a month to live in a foreign country. They don't pay for anything. That's the best offers I'm getting. And there are other people who say, well, I'm getting better shit, and I'm getting better shit. That's true. You probably are. But from my perspective, and from what I'm saying, is there was a massive cash upflow, and it doesn't exist in the bottom end anymore. The contenders pay, I don't think is going to be there. Friends of Owl, player, Overwatch League, that's how you get in. Streaming, maybe you're one of contenders. Like 6 to 12 people are going to get into Overwatch League this year. In an entire 12 months, 6 to 12 people will get into Overwatch League. There will not be a major cutting of players. They're just going to fucking pick up the pieces that they need. They're going to let the players go for a year, and then people rework the rosters later, because this first season doesn't mean jack shit. If you're not going to win, you just coast and you try and develop. There's no draft. You aren't playing for anything except the trophy, but because of franchising, you're never going to get out. So standings mean jack shit for anybody who's not holding the trophy. Second place to last place means jack shit in Overwatch League, except for the players, and that's how much money they make. So you want the players to play harder, but for the orgs, it doesn't mean jack shit. So the orgs can just sit there and reap the Overwatch League profits. Even if they fucking turn into the Cleveland Browns still have fans. Cleveland Browns still turn a profit somehow. Don't know how, but they do. So anyway, this video basically summarizes where the money is, what's going on, and how I think the current structure looks. It's not ideal. I definitely don't like how the new structure looks. There's a very big burden put onto the player of, do you want Owl? And it shouldn't be. Because if you are an Owl level talent and somebody like me, your high school coach, your college coach, in the term of, open division is high school play, contenders is college, Overwatch League is the pros. If any coach along this route sees that you have the potential to play an Owl, they should have the ability to push you into it and give you a shot. But we don't. We have no ability to get anybody, so these people... Oh, fuck. I'm bucking up now. These people have the $0, the zero ability to play, the zero ability to grind and shit. And it's just sad that the money got pushed this far up. And I don't know if it's something Blizzard can fix. I don't know if it's something that can be done. I don't know if this is something that's fixable. But what I will say, for anybody who's trying to go pro, the number one thing you can do, and it sucks, I absolutely detest telling people this, is fucking network. Become best friends with the guy who has an Owl team. Become best friends with an Owl player who's on an Owl team. Duo with him, scrim with him, because that's a better shot of getting into OWL than fucking being a good contenders level talent and standing out, or a good open division player and standing out. Because nepotism is the ultimate way into OWL, and it's really sad that that's the case. So if you are currently grinding, and the whole point of this video basically came from people asking me the path to pro and how much money do you make, etc. Since I've been cut by Renegades and I've been bouncing around teams. So if you want to go pro, so ladder player, as me, as coach, person who's been all over the damn map, my suggestion for you is become a ladder player, become a ladder star, duo with somebody who's either on a contenders team or an OWL team consistently. Play with them as much as fucking possible. And once you're done playing with them, look to play with other people who have the same sway. Stream. Do all of that shit. And then once you do that, you're going to get a shot. That's your shot and your best straightforward ticket to OWL or contenders. Or an academy team. Fuck Open Division. Open Division is the biggest joke and slap in the face. Trials means jack shit. When you get into trials of Open Division, that means your team is going to be poached to death by academy teams. It is not a joke. If you make it to trials, I guarantee you your star DPS player, your star tank, your star support will get poached within 3 weeks. Even if you qualify, even if you make it there, because you qualified, you're not under an org, you can't pay them. The org that can pay that player at least $700 is going to get him. This $700 is now a breaking point, and Open Division is pointless. I won't even get talking about the Battle.net balance prize bullshit, because that's a joke. That's a slap in the face to every pro in the fucking scene. I don't care. You could make that shit 5,000 Battle.net dollar balance. That's like saying I'm paying you in company funds. We need fucking actual cash prizes. You need to have tournaments. You need to have things that are not in this structure to financially support, because you won't fucking financially support it otherwise. So anyway, my recommendation is that you go from a ladder player to a ladder star. Once you make it as a star on the ladder, duo with important people. After you duo with important people, your shot will come. Avoid Open Division like the plague unless you are jumping straight from the ladder to a trials team, which is no longer an Open Division team, it is a contenders team. Skip that shit. Overwatch Open Division is a waste of time and not worth the effort. Anything below like that threshold is not worth. And it's just a fact, and I hope Blizzard realizes it and sees it. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. I've been talking for almost half an hour. I hope this video has some information in it. Hope it makes sense to everybody. One last thing I will talk about real quick that I just remembered. If you are a player and you are making money, and another player asks you, how much are you making at Org X? It is 100% beneficial for you both to share that information with each other. If your org says you're not allowed to tell anybody, that's because they're afraid you're going to skyrocket the prices. The org at every time has the right to tell you, no, I won't pay you that, and you can walk away. They'll know if you're trying to gouge them. But do not let orgs take advantage of you. If you get offered $1,000 and you reach out to 3 of your close friends who are in the exact same role or position and they're getting paid 5K, 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 the org is trying to scam you. And it is a fact. It doesn't matter if they're an OWL org. It doesn't matter if they're a contenders org. It doesn't matter if they're an Open Division org. They will try and use your ass. They will try and take advantage of you. Stop letting them. Talk to each other. Coaches talk to coaches. Managers talk to managers. Players talk to players. If we can't have a union, we can have each other's back. Straight up. Stop letting them bully you. Don't let the OWL dream and all that shit push you to fucking getting fucked. That's where another reason that this video got made. So anyway, hope y'all had a good one. This is going to be like a 30-minute video. I'm going to be releasing another one later this week whenever I get around to it, and then there's going to be another one after that. So anyway, have a good one, y'all.